been a hectic day, but we got it worked out.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
well,
you were just trying to pick up a van in a snowstorm?
Yeah, the van we were gonna use for this tour coming up, we leave tomorrow morning. It broke down right before I was gonna go pick that one up. So last minute, we found one in Fargo, and I was just picking that up today. Yeah.
Oh, that's hectic.
yeah, but better it breaks down before you're on the road than after.
Thanks so much for joining us today. You this tour that you're on. Tell us a little bit about it. I see that you're basically going all throughout the Midwest and in the Northeast here. Are there any spots that you're particularly stoked to stop?
Yeah. I mean, with this one, we wanted to hit up a lot of the places we weren't able to last year. Um, I think Rochester looks pretty sick, and Baltimore. We did play a festival out there called Shadow Woods, which was really cool, and I think
I've heard a
that
little
show
bit
will be great.
about that festival. Basically, people are in the woods camping out in bunks together. Is that the one that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was just in the middle of the forest. They gave us a cabin to sleep in and everything. It was actually my birthday, so it was a pretty fun time.
That sounds like an. Did you get to catch any other bands while you were there?
Yeah, we actually got to see Mantar, some label mates of ours. They're really cool. From I think they're from Germany.
So you've got a brand new record called Star Mourner coming out April 21st via Nuclear Blast, and we've got to hear a little bit about it. I think that we're gonna intro to this interview by playing Thrones, the first single from it, and it's an interesting track. It to my ears, it definitely takes off where Golden Number from your previous record, Moon Lover, takes off. And there's it's notable in that it has major key guitar riffs, which wouldn't sound kind of out of place on, say, a power metal record. Is that something that you ever got into?
Power metal? No, not really. I mean, I'm really into Van Halen though.
I could see. So, yeah,
Uh,
there's a Venn diagram of people that are into Van Halen and into power metal. It's not a small overlap, I think. But it's
yeah,
it's an
yeah,
interesting combination because your vocals are so clearly depressive, suicidal black metal shrieks that it is a jarring and really really interesting interplay between these pained vocals and in black metal, and then transitioning to that cool open major key riffage that you got going. How did you find that sound?
Well, I've always really liked the contrast of something heavy and something melodic. In my last band, we wrote a song where it's close to a breakdown, but not really. And then there's this really melodic, pretty part over the top. And I just thought that was really cool. So I started writing a lot more songs in that style. Um, I do like polarizing sounds. So obviously the vocals, most people either really like them or hate them or just laugh. But I think it's really cool that in a single song, I've had people tell me that uh, they were crying when we were playing or when they heard it, and then the same exact song or the same exact show, people were just laughing at it. So I think it's crazy that one piece of music could evoke such a wide range of reactions from people.
I'm not super into black metal, but when I hear a Ghost Bath song, I look forward to hearing those melodic parts that take me out of your anguish screams and kind of make me feel something different. Do you try to put a melodic part in each one of your songs so it can evoke different emotions like that?
Um, I mean, it depends. With this new record, I was trying to convey a lot more ecstasy, I'd say you'd call it, or the theme of the record is sort of heaven and angels and that sort of thing. So definitely with this one, there's a lot more of that. But I do think it's sort of in my style to have a lot of melody in my songs. Even when I try to write something really heavy and dissonant, I always end up putting in some kind of melody or guitar riff in there.
With the themes of joy and paradise on the Star Mourner record, is that a reflection of how you feel now and where Ghostbath is as a band?
Not really. The way I see it, I'm using those things to still convey depression and sorrow and that sort of thing. In my view, the music and the happiness around it are sort of the world around me and like outside things. But the vocals are still, um, sorrowful or depressing, and I think it's a little more depressing to me for there to be like a contrast of like happiness and stuff in with it instead of just straight um like sad sounding riffs or a completely sad song. I think if you have something to compare it to, it's just that much it hits that much harder, I think.
Yeah, there is a bit of joy in being depressed. There's a comfort in feeling the sadness that you usually feel constantly. Personally, I find myself listening to sad music when I'm sad and when I'm depressed, and that brings out a sort of kind of weird feeling of comfort. Do you ever do something like that when you're listening to music?
I think that's true for a lot of people, and like the same with our music. A lot of people tell me that it helps them get through sort of bad times. I mean, I've gotten letters, emails, messages, all that kind of thing. And people will come up to me at shows, tell them that I helped them after they were suicidal or whatnot. And I think for me, I'm trying to use it as sort of a catharsis type thing. I don't know. I don't think it works as well for me as it does for other people.
How did you first come across DSPM, and what made you want to adopt that vocal style?
I think they aren't DSPM, but the band that really got me into playing this style of music was Agalloch. I found their record Marrow the Spirit, and I just bought it on a whim. Like I'd never heard of them before, and I just really liked their guitar riffs. They sort of have the blast beats with a melodic guitar going. And so when I looked them up online, I'm guessing it was probably through YouTube where I discovered DSBM, and I found the documentary. There's some documentary about like one man black metal bands.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's got Ress from Leviathan is featured in there.
Yeah, and so that's where I first discovered DSBM, and then I really enjoyed it, and so I kept exploring different bands, and I found this band called Silencer, which is a very extreme vocal style, and for like my first reaction was also to laugh at it, but like the more I listened to it, I was just like, why do I keep listening to this? I just kept finding myself playing it, and so there are other bands that do that vocal style. I mean, Silencer is like a very extreme. They like put it way out front, like Austere and Germ. And I don't know. I just feel like when I scream, that's just kind of the natural way it goes. I wasn't really doing lyrics at first, so in sort of a Sigur Rós way, I just kind of made it up with the song, what sounded right, I guess.
I have no way of being certain, but I feel like that's a pretty common thing among extreme metal musicians. The lyrics are kind of an afterthought upon fitting vocal patterns in.
Yeah, I was just really into Sigur Rós. Have you heard of that band?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the are they Icelandic? Iceland, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
they're from Iceland. Yeah, so I really liked that the voice was just another instrument, and I think sometimes lyrics, I mean, especially if they're bad, but even if they're not, they can limit what the listener can get out of the music, and I didn't want to do that at all. So that's kind of what I went with.
Gotcha. You were mentioning just a minute ago, but you were saying that you get a polarizing reaction. You use polarizing noises, and you get a polarized reaction from your audience. You've got some people who are really touched by the music, who feel compelled to write you and tell you that like your music is making a difference in their lives. And on the same end, it seems like you've got a whole lot of really stangry people on the internet that just hate everything that you do. How does that feel? How do you deal with basically what amounts to an army of really mad trolls?
I don't know. I think I sort of enjoy it. I'm kind of a troll myself, if you remember the whole China fiasco. So I think I kind of brought it on myself a little bit, but I knew writing this type of music was going to be very polarizing and people were going to have strong reactions. When the very first EP, I showed it to the guys I was planning to make a full band with, and they just sort of didn't want to do it. And so they kind of quit the band, leaving me to do it by myself.
Wow, that is something else. You mentioned the China situation. For people that are listening to this podcast and are somehow completely unfamiliar with Ghostbath, your band came to prominence, basically repped by a lot of big metal writers that were that believed that you guys hailed from China, which of course is not the case. You guys are from North Dakota. This led to a lot of angry people, a lot of hand wringing, and a lot of accusations that you had misled these writers. But where we are now is that you're at a nationally prominent band and signed to Nuclear Blast. So how do you feel about the whole situation looking back on it?
I don't know. It's sort of one of those things that started out as just kind of a joke to myself. I mean, I was by myself writing songs in my basement to being covered by a bunch of large websites. And for some reason, I thought it would be really funny just to continue trolling them. And I remember one email in particular. I think it said, I'm not going to say any names, but my editor doesn't believe you exist. Can I call you? And no, yeah, I didn't let him call me or anything, but I sort of left a lot of trails. Like I wasn't very careful about hiding my identity. I just kind of did it and just let it go, basically. Like if people wanted to find out who I was even back then, it wasn't too hard to do.
You've got a new record coming out from Nuclear Blast. It's getting a lot of attention, and people are still holding on to this and still mad about it. I was just looking around for live video of you guys, because I miss when you played in Austin, and one of the top videos is from some guy who seems like he's really fun to hang around, called Hipster Black Metal,
Yeah.
with a video titled "Ghostbath or Cringeworthy Edge Fags."
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is the pot calling the kettle black metal, of course.
That guy. Yeah, what's funny is he's been making videos for a while, and actually I do watch his videos. He makes fun of like Deafheaven, Liturgy, Merkur, all those kinds of bands. And I remember jokingly saying like, all right guys, we've made it once he makes a video about us.
Hey, you
So
did it.
I don't know. I think it's funny. I don't get mad about that kind of stuff. But he got some of the members, like he took pictures from my old band and put them next to images of my new band, which are all different people except for me. So I don't know. I was kind of mad he didn't get the correct members, but that's fine.
So, I guess there's an inherent silliness to metal in general, and especially black metal, and I don't quite understand why one band gets a pass for, basically putting on a theatrical display, calling themselves assumed names, and another does not. Do you have any theory on that?
I mean, the whole Nameless thing was connected to just me and not wanting people to know who I am. But I mean, that's gone. And I don't know, the name just kind of stuck for me, I guess. I just call myself Nameless sometimes in like interviews and stuff for fun. But sorry, you're talking about like stage names and
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like
not
it's.
sure.
I mean, the progenitors of the genre wore corpse paint and sniffed bags full of dead birds, which is, in my mind, in infinitely lol worthy. So I don't quite get why there's such hate for like you guys for perhaps wearing white jumpsuits on stage, which I think is pretty dope. And we can talk a bit more about that later, or say Deafheaven for having nice haircuts and being handsome.
Yeah, I don't know. I think to me those bands with corpse paint and whatever, I mean, they're always funny to me, but at the same time, like I loved it. So it's kind of a, I don't know. It was silly, but I still enjoyed it. I like a lot of silly things. So, and as far as the white jumpsuits, um, I was just at a black metal show like shortly before we started touring, and like I only saw black everywhere on stage, everyone in the audience, and so I was like, all right, let's just wear white then.
That makes sense.
Just kind of wanted to stand out, and then I still wore black just to because I was the one that wrote all the music, and I don't know, sort of gave a cool visual.
The other band that you guys are often compared to, Deafheaven, I wanted to ask you about a couple of like strange similarities between some of the music you've released. Of course, it's sonically dissimilar, aside from blast beats and black metal. But for example, on your last record, you had a track called "Happy House," and there's a Dream Theater track. I keep saying Dream Theater. Deafheaven track
Dream
called "Dream House," and the record Moon Lover, their record that put them to major prominence, was "Sunbather." I don't know. How did that happen? Is that just a strange coincidence?
Honestly, it is. My every track on the record refers to either a synonym for a graveyard or something referring to the moon. And Happy House was to me like one of the most depressing tracks on the record, so I kind of ironically named it Happy House, as that's a name that can be used for a graveyard as well. And then as far as the album titles, I had written all three. I had them all like picked out and like all the concepts before I started any of them, and yeah, they're just part of a trilogy.
Gotcha.
So like, as far as Deafheaven, I mean, I had listened to them. Their what was it, Roads of Judah album before, but I think what I was trying to do with Moonlover was write more of an Agalloch type album, but I just think I was bad at trying to emulate them at all. I think because I had more of like a kind of a post-hardcore type background that it kind of changed it, and it had its own tinge to it.
That's interesting, because post-hardcore has lots of different connotations depending on, I guess, the age that a person got into it. What's your shit? What do you jam on?
If you're talking about right now, I actually don't really listen to it. If you're talking about like what I was listening to back when I was playing post-hardcore, let's see, stuff like Norma Jean, Fear Before. I like to Converge a lot, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Poison the Well.
I never really got into them personally, no. But I don't know. I feel like when I start playing in a band, I stop listening to the type of music that I'm playing. So like as I was in that post-hardcore type band, I just kind of fell out with really listening to a lot of it.
What do you listen to now?
right now I do listen to a lot of atmospheric black metal, but also I like a it's not vaporwave, like really
I like
really
vaporwave.
yeah, I mean it's not bad, but I think chill wave or retro wave, that kind of stuff, like really, but I'm very specific about it, so very like sci-fi sounding, weird space noise type stuff.
Interesting. Have you checked out Mesarthim? Mesarth. I have no idea how to pronounce this fucking band name.
Oh yeah, Mesarthim. Yeah, they're cool. I
Yeah,
like them.
that's they're doing some really cool shit, and it's all in space, which I'm super into. So you've got.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Starmourner. What do you want to communicate with this record?
So yeah, it's the second part of the trilogy. Um, the trilogy is based on kind of two different things. One is basic human emotions. So Moonlover was tragedy, and Star Mourner is ecstasy. And then it's also loosely based on like the Divine Comedy type thing, where Moonlover is more, black and gray purgatory, and Star Mourner is more Paradiso heaven type thing. And so with the record, I wrote 12 short stories, full short stories, and I had 12 different paintings done for the record. And I just wanted it to be sort of like an epic, and like the stories in the booklet look sort of like Bible pages. It's very like religious based, but it's not like a Christian record or anything.
I'm really curious about these paintings because one of the most striking things about your previous releases with Funeral, you used the painting Ophelia by John Everett Milius, and with Moonlover, I love that art. It's La Luna by Luis Gonzalez Palma. Did you commission someone to do original art for this new record, or is it all pieces that you found?
An artist from Transylvania that I found. Her name is Luciana. I found her through like other bands' artwork, and I really liked her style. So yeah, she had a couple done that I picked out that I thought fit well, and then I also had her read some of the stories, and I showed her some of the songs, and then she painted some of the other ones too.
That is awesome. I'm also glad to learn that Transylvania is apparently a real place.
Oh yeah, the first show we ever booked was in Transylvania, which
What?
I think's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Why did you even bother doing a second show after that?
Oh yeah, it just worked out weird that way with us never playing any shows and kind of getting really big, and then we were preparing to tour both the U.S. and Europe last year, and that was just the first show that made us an offer that got confirmed. So I thought it was pretty cool.
What was the venue like? Was it? Please tell me it was like a 13th century castle.
That's exactly what it was.
Fuck
It was
yeah.
it's a festival called Dark Bombastic Evening, and it was like inside of these fortress walls, and it was a great festival. Turned out really well.
What were those acoustics like? I have to assume that the original peasants or serfs building the place didn't plan on accounting for blast beats.
It was like an open air thing in between the walls.
Ah.
So it sounded like any open air festival.
I would have been tempted to just play the Castlevania theme for 30 minutes.
If you saw a candlestick, you were obligated to throw a whip at it.
They had like an 80s dance party after the festival, which was kind of weird to me. But I was dancing with the guy from Alcest, fucking getting drunk and shit. That's pretty cool.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah.
That sounds like a wonderful time all around. You're starting the tour tomorrow, right?
Yep, we leave tomorrow morning for Madison.
What are you going to listen to in the van?
Honestly, I listen to podcasts mostly.
What's the cool podcast? What are you getting into?
I mean, I download a ton because there's a lot of road time. I used to listen to the Metal Sucks podcast all the time. They changed hosts. I haven't checked it out since then. Chuck and Godless. I listened to some Joe Rogan, some Adam Carolla, some Intelligence Squared debates. I listen to a lot of debates for some reason on just religion and stuff.
Have you listened to the Joe Rogan Alex Jones episode yet?
Yes, I have.
Any takes on that? Because there was a whole lot of shit going on.
I mean, I watched it on YouTube, and I was playing video games and drinking at the same time, so I wasn't really paying too much attention. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. I enjoyed it though.
I'm not a big fan of either person, but I found myself sucked into this as well. What kind of video games are you into right now, by the way? You have to tell us that.
Discovered your guys' podcast. I was playing a lot of Battlefield 1, and I just listened to the one with Trevor from Black Dahlia.
Oh yeah,
that guy's that guy's really cool. Yeah, I've been playing Battlefield 1, and then I like MMOs when I have the time to play them. I basically had nothing to do since September, our last tour, and so I've been playing Black Desert. It's like a Korean MMO.
Interesting.
But things went from like 0 to 100 real fast, and now I don't have time to do anything lately.
New album is called Star Mourner, and it is out April 21st via Nuclear Blast. So go pre-order that and look at all the cool album art that comes along with it. Thanks to our Transylvanian friend.
Thanks for asking me to be on this, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'll see you at the Rhode Island show. My band's actually opening up for you.
Oh, which band is that?
Tovarish.
Yeah, we'll put
I'll
that
see you there, then.
in there as well. That the Rhode Island date, especially Jordan, you'll buy everybody free shots, right?
Sure, why not? Lots of Zima for everyone.
Huzzah!
Are there like a bunch of like communist bands in Rhode Island?
No.
Oh, okay. Because my guitarist was talking with someone who's in like a band that uses a lot of communist imagery, and I was like, oh yeah, we got this Tovarish band on, and he thought it was that band, but it was like a different band with communist imagery, so it's really funny.
Oh well, we'll have to rumble in the streets then for communist supremacy.
I don't think
There you
that's
go.
how it works, dude. I think you're supposed to be comrades.
There can be only one.
Yeah.